Hey, you'll probably be able to tell throughout the video, this was mostly recorded on my live stream while I'm going to commentate over it, and basically I'm going to complain about playing Dead by Daylight because, I said so. Essentially the main problems with Dead by Daylight at the moment is the fact that perks are extremely, like, bloated. Basically, if you wanted to get a specific perk, it would take you so goddamn long unless you get lucky enough to get it in the shrine, or if it's a DLC character, you can only get it in the shrine because why not? Basically, the shrine is a weekly reset of 4 perks that you can pay for with iridescent shards, which you get from leveling up. Essentially, you're going to have to deal with buying new characters, which makes the monetization very annoying, because then once you buy the new characters, you don't get the perk. You get the perk on that character, and then you have to level them up to 40 to then level up your other characters to get the perk, which whenever you need a perk like barbecue and chili, or if you really want to do a specific build, you have to go ahead and get the perk, and then level up the character enough to get the perk on every other characters, and then you have to level up the character you want to use it on. Generally, this makes it extremely annoying to want to do different builds, because eventually you're just going to stick to the same one you want, because why would you go through the effort of doing everything else, honestly? Another thing is playing on killer side feels like the game lasts 5 seconds, because maybe it's just me, maybe I'm a bad killer, I don't know. Without a killer that has map pressure and gen slowdown perks, the game feels like it ends so quickly, and it is so difficult to pin people down. Generally, I think there should be an objective that is not directly linked to the gens, but whichever team actually decides to get to it and complete it, because it should take a while to do it. Basically, I think killers should be able to hook survivors in the basement to get some kind of buff for maybe a generator regression buff, maybe a generator speed debuff for the survivors. And survivors, if they let's say fight back a part of an entity somewhere, something like that, maybe like where they just have to, like getting rid of the Demogorgon's portals. What if they do that but against a part of the entity, which then allows them to get items, get maybe a speed buff for the generators, or maybe it allows them to get another hit, maybe like Metal Man used to be, where you get hit 3 times. Something to help each side where you would actually want to do it, because right now if you're not doing gens, you're kind of throwing. Like, there's no reason to not be on a gen, because if you're super altruistic, you're going to end up getting you and your teammates killed. So it's kind of like, why would you even attempt, honestly? Another problem with Dead by Daylight, in my opinion, is a lot of the killers just feel boring. Like, it's the same things. The killers I like to play are things like the Trickster, because he actually has an ability that's kind of unique, where he's not trying to walk up and smack you all the time. He's going to try to throw knives at you just so he can get you down a heal state, which you could say, oh, the Huntress does the same thing. Huntress kind of doesn't, because once you know how to play Huntress, it's very like you get into a pattern. Oh, they're going to go for the vault, throw the hatchet. It's not hard. And once it gets into a pattern, it becomes extremely boring, which is why I like the Trickster, because he's a lot more forgiving whenever you can just yeet daggers at people and you can just kind of run around and have a bit of fun. Of course he's not strong at all. Fun killers are not strong, They also kind of killed Billy. I mean, rest in peace to his chainsaw. For some reason, they decided to give him an overheating mechanic, which makes it to where if you use your power, which is what you're supposed to be doing, I guess, you just lose. You just don't have a power. Of course, if you try to go for insta downs, you'll end up overheating your chainsaw, which then allows you to not have map pressure, which then survivors go and do all the gens. So, do you see the problem here? If you try to use your chainsaw to actually injure people, you're probably going to end up losing the game unless you start slugging, which survivors, if you do that, they generally hate you, because not only are you slugging, you're also just going to leave them on the ground and go and try to stop another gen, which feels very bad. When you get slugged, it's just like, all right, I don't get to play the game for the next 2 minutes. Of course, this has always been a kind of a strategy, but like, survivors had ways to bully the killer back, but like, basically what I'm trying to say is right now I think doing gens is way too fast, and the way to do that the way to stop that as a killer is have map pressure, which some killers just straight up don't. Have gen slowdown, which some killers also straight up don't without certain perks, which you then have to buy the killer to get that perk. Or straight up just have to play lame, which those are your 3 things to slow down. It's just not a good feel right now, especially on the killer side. I think survivor side is generally, it feels about the same as it always has. Except for there's a part where we have cool new boon perks, which is very cool. It's a very nice addition, but it's the only addition we've had like that in like a year. Whenever they added hex totems with the with the hag, and they added those hex totems, they came out with some of the most busted perks, because once they were gone, once the hex was gone, it was just out of that game. Like, it just didn't exist anymore, which was kind of a reason to do that. And they've steadily nerfed hex perks down. Like, Hex Ruin used to be a must pick. It got nerfed, as it should have. But now it's only good on certain killers. And there's no real reason to go and do bones anymore, because you're not getting slowed down on gens. If you're not on a gen, you're throwing. Come on, think about it. But there's also like Hex Noed, very strong, but generally doesn't ever have an issue. Like, people normally just cleanse it after you down one person. And of course, survivors love when you run Noed. Yeah, so they're also having fun. It's just a bad game feel for both sides, because whenever you get tunneled as a survivor, feels like trash. Always has, always will. But whenever you're getting gen rushed as a killer, feels like trash. Always has. Now, I will say, if we could have another giant addition, like hexes were, or maybe like I was gonna say breakable walls, but that literally doesn't matter on most maps. Honestly, it made maps worse whenever they started adding them in, because it's less reliability on where you can run. Honestly, I don't know what they could add. It just, I know right now, it feels like trash to play. And looking at the player numbers, it's generally the same. Really isn't that much lower. I mean, it's like half of what it peaked at in September 2021, but it still has 50,000 players right now, which is extremely good. Like, that is like, I think top 20 on Steam. Doesn't matter because everyone I know who used to play the game doesn't want to play it, and I'm not going to play the game by myself because it's more fun with other people. Like, as a solo player, you have no real reason to want to play Dead by Daylight right now, because you're either going to get tunneled, let down by your team, or you're going to get bullied on killer. So solos have no reason to play Dead by Daylight, and I don't know how they can fix that besides completely starting new. Honestly, maybe it's time for a Dead by Daylight 2. Some people will probably be like, dude, I'm not rebuying the game that I've played since 2012. But like, you've been playing it for that long. Like, you can fork out your $20, dude. You got your money's worth. If they redo that, a lot of the perks could be formed together into new perks, and a lot of the killers and stuff can be trimmed off. Honestly, we could trill off some of the killers and survivors. It would be a lot better, because half the survivors no one plays or no one wants to play, and half the killers are useful for one perk or not useful at all. Like, tell me who in their right mind is playing Wraith right now. There's no reason when there's better stealth killers. And there's killers like the Spirit, which are so much better than everyone else. It's insane. Well, she did get nerfed, so she's not like the tippy top tier. Like, she's not busted like she used to be. But still, why would you not just play that killer? There's no reason to. Oni is literally just the better Billy, so we can get rid of one of them. Like, there's no reason to have both. And there's perks that do the same things a lot of the time. Like, Thanatophobia is a slowdown. There's also the perk where it takes the survivors longer to open the exit gates. Mix those two together. When they're injured, it takes them longer with how many people are injured. So it's more of like a, once you have some pressure on, it keeps it there because they're not going to be able to open the exit gate as much. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not a game developer. I don't plan to be. I just know this game feels like trash. And generally, there's no reason to play it. I mean, yeah, maybe you like the killers, the killer icons, but like, it's just honestly, what I've been thinking about, I honestly have more fun back last Halloween. Of course, no one's playing it right now. The Friday the 13th game was a lot more fun to play than Dead by Daylight, because there's more than one objective. Of course, your objective is to escape, but there's different ways to complete that. You can go repair a boat. You can go fix a car. You can call the police and just walk your happy ass out. But in Dead by Daylight, there's one way you do things. Touch some wires together and pull an exit gate down and leave. Or if you're the last one, you can go through hatch, because they took out the key's ability to go through hatch, I believe, which is good. Make things worse. You know, what I'm starting to sound like is a old man who's just like, why did they fix my game? I want them to leave it the same. Like, no, I'm not like that. I just feel like Dead by Daylight is going to start slipping, and once it slips, it's gonna kind of be a dead game. If you look, a lot of people aren't really posting a lot of Dead by Daylight anymore, like it used to be. Dead by Daylight used to be huge, and I want it to be. I love this game, honestly. The way to see all different like killer icons and like some cool survivors, like the Resident Evil chapter was extremely huge for me because I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. But the way they like killed the Nemesis, like the Nemesis is not good. It's just not. But seeing him in there trying to down Leon and Jill is just cool. Like, there's no way about it. I want to see them add more killers in. Honestly, some of my favorite killers are not even the licensed ones. If you read the backstory, a lot of them are very good. Their Ghostface backstory, it's fantastic. It's basically a fan fiction, but I don't care. It's a good story. So I don't want to see the game die. No, I want to see the game updated to be better. And maybe I don't know how to do that, but someone knows how to. And it'll happen eventually, or we'll just move on to a different game, which there are different games that are generally not very good and they kind of look like trash, but it happens. So let's try to see Dead by Daylight get itself back up to where it was back during the Resident Evil chapter, back whenever we were doing Stranger Things collaborations, because that was sick and everyone wanted to play this game. And now I have trouble finding anyone who wants to even watch someone play this game. So maybe we'll figure something out, maybe we won't. GG's.